Hey YouTube, it's me Brandon Colonel. The next video that I've got for you guys is basically an explanation on why I carry high-end knives such as the ZT-0561 and the ZT-0770CF. Basically, when you're talking about either collecting knives or just simply buying a knife in general, well actually this can really extend to just about anything, honestly. There's a saying that most of you will probably know. It's buy quality, buy forever. Basically, that saying is what it means is if you buy quality, you'll never have to buy it again. I mean, look at this knife. This could basically be an heirloom. The second that I get rid of this thing, it'll still work for the next person who picks it up. If I sell this to a pawn shop, this thing will probably go through 5 pawn shops if I ever do. Because by the time that I get rid of it, which likely I don't think I ever will, but if I ever decide to get rid of this thing for whatever reason and decide to sell it off, over the course of this knife's lifetime, it'll probably see about 5 different owners before this thing finally kicks the bucket. And it'll probably serve them all very well. Same as my 770. It'll serve all of its owners very well. It won't have a single problem. But you take something like this Gerber Mini Paraframe. This was my first decent knife, at least in my opinion. The ergonomics are decent. They're not the best, but they're decent. Not really room for the pinky all that well, but it cuts. With using this knife, I actually carved out my first walking stick. Well, second, I think. Yeah, second. Using this knife, I carved out my second walking stick, and I think it actually had a hand in the third one. But just a long story short, this is a very decent knife. It's not the best, but it's good. I think that I paid around $9, tax included, for this knife when I bought it. This is a very good knife. So you may have the Gerber Mini Paraframe and think, so this is a phenomenal knife. Why would I ever need to go out and buy the ZT-0561, or in case you're looking for a smaller knife about around the same kind of size? Why would I need to spend $30 and get the Kershaw Cryo, or again still in about the same price range, well, the same size range but bigger? Why would I need to spend $158 to go out and buy the I've got a lot of knives in front of me. Tried to film this video about 4 times, so I'm getting all my words messed up. But why would I need to go out and spend $158 on the ZT-0770CF? Why would I need to do all that when I've got the Gerber Mini Paraframe and it cuts everything that I need it to? Holds a razor sharp edge. I can do anything with this knife. You very may well be able to. And honestly, it's all personal preference. You may not need to go out and buy these knives, but then again, like I said, buy quality, buy forever. This knife, it's not exactly an heirloom. I mean, the most that I can say about this knife's heirloom quality is the fact that this was basically the first knife that I ever got that was of decent quality. The first knife ever that I ever got, I actually can't really completely call it a knife, because it was a multi-tool with a blade attachment on it that was actually very dull. But I actually pitched that at one point. The first true knife that I ever got was a Swiss Army knife. Still have that. But quality is crap. This is the first quality knife that I ever bought, right here. So, basically this is the most heirloom quality that this has is I would be able to pass it on to my kids, saying, "Hey, this is the first decent knife that I ever had. Now I'm passing it on to you. This will be your first good knife that you ever had." That's basically all the quality. Well, not quality. This is basically all the heirloom quality that this will ever have. If I use this and abuse this and use it until it's dead, it'll probably last me a few good years. I'll give it that much. It'll probably last me a few good years. But then I'll have to pitch it, because there's only so much good steel on this before you get to a point where you just can't sharpen it anymore. That's just the way that knives of this price range are going to be. Eventually, I won't be able to use it anymore. But then you get into knives such as this, the CRKT M16-02Z. If I need to, I can adjust the pivot on this in the field. I can actually easily adjust the pivot on this. Just jam my thumb in there and tighten it or loosen it. Because just due to the pattern, trying to get this in frame. Just due to the pattern on this thing, it grabs onto your thumb, or basically any finger that you decide to jam in there, and it'll grab onto it, and then you can tighten it down. That's actually a lot more sluggish than it usually is. See if I can't tighten it down all the way. Yeah, the first time it wouldn't even come out, and my thumb's actually getting all torn up now. Yeah, you can tighten this down to the point where it doesn't want to come open. Loosen up. So rock it again. Yeah, you can do that all in the field. This is quality. I really like that about this knife. But you also, oops, dropping my knife here. But you also have a secondary locking mechanism. If you release the lock, you can't undo this. You have to pull that back. Because releasing this mechanism releases the lock. Again, quality. This is not spring assist. This is on a Teflon washer system, allowing it to just fly open like crazy. But again, you may still be thinking, where'd that thing go? What can a knife like that do that this wouldn't? Well, this is actually a somewhat harder steel. By no means is it a hard steel. I mean, think about it. I'm used to Elmax. I'm used to S30V. I'm used to knives like this. AUS 6M high carbon steel, not exactly hard. But either way, it's harder than this. This is surgical steel. It is the meatloaf of the knife industry. Nobody knows what's in it. I mean, surgical steel could be stainless, it could be non-stainless. You don't know what's in it. But this can't hold the world's most phenomenal edge. It holds a decent edge, as you can see. It cleanly slices through paper. So yeah, it holds a decent edge. But I ain't dropping this through any kind of paper. Not even just because of the weight. Because it is not exactly a weighty knife. I mean, with as much carbon fiber as that's on this knife and how lightweight it is, just the sheer size of this thing beats it. You're saying it, you may be thinking to yourself, hey, I can get this thing open one-handed. Why do I need a $158 knife with a flipper? You may not. But here's the reasons why I buy knives like this. the quality. Like I said, buy quality once, buy forever. The quality on these knives is above and beyond anything that you'll see on a knife like this. I mean, sure, this thing has a Teflon washer on it. And sure, I figured out how to use this knife one-handed. But it's not quick. Get this knife out just like that. This knife, you have to spend time into it. It's also not exactly the smoothest knife on planet Earth. It's pretty grabby. There's a lot of sharp edges everywhere. Nothing is round. The inside of this lock bar is not exactly rounded off. And also the very top, it's actually pretty pointy. Just the way the paraframe is made, if you jab your finger too far in there, you're going to cut yourself. So that's really a safety concern. There's just quite a few things on here that I would say aren't exactly up to par. And then you get into no-name knives, like this. Before you say anything, this is not the Kershaw leak. For one, when was the last time you saw a leak do this? Yeah. Now it's actually want to come open. There we go. That's what it usually does. Yeah, I can guarantee you right now the pivot just got loose. Yeah, that's a lot of blade play. The pivot just recently got loose, which is why it's actually coming open. But yeah, typically, there we go. That's typically what it does. Typically, you cannot get a Kershaw leak to misfire, no matter what you do to it. This thing consistently misfires. But absolute mystery steel. Can't really hold a decent edge on it. I mean, I'm having to go slow and use every single portion of this blade in order to get that far. I try to push cut it. Yeah, you get that. I mean, they even went so far as to have the basically patented leak locking mechanism on it, which that broke. As you can see, there is no locking mechanism in there. Within the first few days of me owning it, I dropped it, it broke. Now, this knife was around $10, maybe $15. Go just a little bit higher, and get this. This is made by Kershaw. Phenomenal knife. You can actually own a true, real Kershaw for the same price you would be spending on its fake counterpart. Buy quality, buy forever. Now, this is about $20. It's not exactly going to last you forever. It's 8CR13 MOV stainless steel, Zytel handles. It's not going to last you forever, but it's definitely going to last you a lot longer. I mean, just the simple fact of 8CR13 MOV period. It's probably not going to last forever, but it will last a very long time. It may not exactly last to be an heirloom, but it's definitely going to last you well into your adult years. If you're, say, a teenager buying it now, this could probably withstand it quite a bit of time, especially if you use it for what this thing's philosophy of use would be, which I would say that this is more food prep or light utility. Wouldn't exactly say that this is a hard use knife. Spend $30. Get this. The Kershaw Cryo. Phenomenal knife. Absolutely terrific. I would actually put this in a little bit harder use EDC roll. In fact, I actually have before. Great titanium carbonitride coating on it. Wears very well. It's an absolute rocket on the opening. As long as you spend enough time getting to know this knife, you can use the thumb studs or the flipper. Although the thumb studs are a little bit more finicky. Just in the sense of it's easier for the knife to come out of your hand if you don't know exactly what you're doing with this knife specifically. But otherwise, this knife is just an absolute rocket. Jimping is adequate, but not great. But that's what you can expect out of a $30 knife as opposed to a $158 knife. This jimping locks your finger in place like you wouldn't believe. This jimping works, but it's not great. But the quality on this, phenomenal. Comes from a reputable company who knows what they're doing. Going back to low quality, about $15 to $20. Looks great. Can't function very well. Yeah, that last little bit was tearing. The knife sucks. I bought it because it looked good. That was all that I bought it for. It opens very quickly. But what good is a knife if you can't cut anything with it? The knife sucks. Again, spend the same $15 to $20. Buy this. I personally buy knives for the quality. The quality locks up like a tank. Complete tank. Look at the lockup. That's never going to fail you. Again, look at the lockup. That's never going to fail you. Look at the materials that are put into it. Titanium, G10 and titanium. That's not going to fail you. Look at the design that goes into it. This is a hexagon shape inside of a hexagon hole. Meaning when you try to tighten it on this side, that is not going to turn with you. Even this knife doesn't have that. You turn the hole on this side, that side turns with you. You have to have basically a screwdriver on both sides in order to tighten that down. And that's even on this knife. This knife has it. Hexagon shape, hexagon hole. Tighten it on this side's not coming undone. Now, I'm not exactly saying that there are no knives that are in a very cheap price range. I'm not saying that they're all going to be crap if they're at a very low price range. The same time when I bought this, which for those of you that don't know, ZT0350 TS, I've already done a review on it. Love this knife. It is amazing. Highly recommend this for just about everybody. But the same time that I bought this, I also bought this. Frost Little Black Talon. Terrific knife. Terrific fixed blade. I actually use this as my throwing knife. This is a terrific little knife. Great edge, which I don't know where it's at. There we go. I was about to say I don't know where the edge is at, but I guess I sharpened it recently. But it's a terrific knife. Has a great edge. Oh, I guess I haven't sharpened it in a while. Guess I got lucky the first time. Because I still use this knife to this day. But it typically has a great edge on it. I got this for $6. This has terrific steel. I would give this minimum 440B. Just minimum. That's what I would give it. But yeah, this is a terrific knife. Great ergonomics on it. No matter what, you're not going to lose your grip on it. And it is just absolutely terrific. I love the sheath design. I love everything about this. Not really going to pull it out all that easy. You can attach it, tip up, and pull it down. Great knife. I love it. And it's for $6. I think that everybody should get a little Black Talon, because these are just terrific little knives. And they're for really, really cheap. But coming out of Frost can be really hit or miss. Here's another knife from Frost. It's the Trapper. If you guys like, I can do a review on this thing, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not exactly going to get a glowing review. The Frost Trapper. Let's use a spade blade. And mind you, I have sharpened this. It cuts, but it takes away. Usually the spade blade is the sharper of the two. So you can see where this is about to go. Use a pointed blade, which I don't remember the technical term for this. It works, but it's definitely not great. This is a beautiful knife. It looks terrific. It functions horribly. When I first got it, I told my grandfather when he gave it to me, I might actually use this just because it looks so terrific. But then I actually sharpened it and tried. Couldn't even cut paper very well. I'm used to knives like this. I wasn't even gripping the knife. I was holding it like this and pulling the paper through it. That's what I'm used to. Even my Cryo can do that to an extent. Doesn't exactly have all the weight behind it to be able to truly do it. But yeah, even my Cryo can do that. I buy quality because quality works. You can always count on quality. If I send this back into Frost and tell them, I want you to resharpen it, I want you to refinish it, make it look new, they're not going to do that. I'm about to send this back into ZT and tell them, and basically tell them, here's some money to replace the blade, and then give the blade a tune-up. They're going to do that for me. Because the blade you do have to pay to replace it, because that's S30V. That costs them a little bit of money. But so, yeah, I'm going to pay to get the blade replaced, and then just tell them give it a tune-up overall. I want it to work like brand new. They're going to do that. I plan on sending in my 770 and just giving them the order, tune it up. I want the screws to be replaced. I want everything to be basically brand new. They're going to do that for me. If I send this knife in and say give it a tune-up, they're going to give it a tune-up. If I say the opening is a little sluggish, fix that. Or the screws won't turn properly anymore, fix that. Or I just don't feel like this is sharp enough for me, get it sharper. They're going to do that. Because the company is good. I really appreciate the company. Kinda why I have 3 ZT knives. The cheapest one here It's about $150. This is just an absolutely terrific knife. I have a lot of Kershaws because they're terrific knives. Probably the only non-terrific Kershaw that I've ever got is a Kershaw Shuffle, but I think this was more work, just a factory defect because the blade was absolute crap. Yeah, there were more things that I didn't care for about this, which you can go and check out my review on it. But the blade overall is really what did me in for this. It was completely horrible blade. But yeah, so this was pretty bad. So anybody can do it, even Kershaw. But I carry quality, and I pay $158, basically just $100 plus, instead of buying these $8 knives, because for one, they work better. 2, they work longer. 3, they're just the fact of how well they work makes them more appealing to me to begin with. I mean, just looking objectively at this knife, this is not exactly the most gorgeous knife on planet Earth. I'll admit that right now. This is not exactly the most gorgeous knife I've ever seen. But the fact of how well it works, how reliable it is, that makes it look better. It's easier to overlook everything else about this once you really get down to it and say, hey, this knife may not look the best, but it's solid in every direction, it fits nicely in the hand, and it cuts whatever you put in front of it. Right now the blade isn't really cutting much because I do need to get the blade replaced. Reason being, this knife became a guinea pig for a lot of new testing for sharpening. So the edge just isn't there. Once I get the blade back, that'll be fixed. This is going to be a terrific knife again. Hopefully in about maybe 1 month's time, this knife will be terrific again. But so, overall, just how well this knife works is astounding. I mean, this knife will never leave my collection. This knife, the only problem that I ever had with it was the screws were stripped when I first got it. I can send this back to them and tell them fix it. They will. Only complaint I have about this knife is that the screws is that the knife is a little bit too big. If I could get it in a little bit smaller knife, and well, I guess 2 things. Also the pocket clip. If I could get this on a non-deep carry pocket clip, I would love this knife forever. And even this would probably be one of my favorite knives in my collection if I could just get it a little bit smaller. Probably about a ½ inch smaller on the blade. Maybe take equal amounts out of the handle. This knife would be terrific and would probably be my favorite knife of all time. Maybe just add about a ¼ inch onto this handle. And again, non-deep carry pocket clip. ZT, if you're watching, fix it. Fix it now. I want it fixed. But yeah, just knives of lower quality don't really do it for me anymore. I mean, I can buy Kershaws because I trust them. I can buy CRKTs because I trust them. I'm pretty leery of Spyderco just for the sole purpose that I have gotten one good knife from them, but just the other knives such as like the Delica and the Endura with their FRN handles and being a lockback for most of their knives, I just don't trust it. There's just something about FRN handles that I don't trust, especially when it doesn't even really have, especially when it doesn't have a liner. If it is completely FRN handles, I do not trust it. I mean, seriously, some of these knives you're paying $50 and $60 for, and you're not even getting a liner and an FRN handle. If I'm paying $50 and $60 on a knife, it had better work. Like, truly, it had better freaking work. And I better be seeing some hard use out of that knife for $50 and $60. I mean, this knife I can understand a little bit more for it not being completely hard use, because this is carbon fiber. This is designed in every way to be a lightweight knife. So they didn't put liners in it because it's carbon fiber. Now, if I needed to, I probably could use this thing a little bit harder, because carbon fiber isn't exactly a lightweight. When it always get the hiccups. But if I do need to, I could probably hard use this thing a little bit. I wouldn't want to push it too much, but I probably could hard use this thing a bit. Now, if it had stainless steel liners, that would probably make it a lot better. But it doesn't. Who cares? But just the simple fact of being carbon fiber and the materials that go into this, I could easily pay $150 for this. That was easy for me. Now, seeing just how sharp it was very much so a bonus. Yeah, that's really a bonus. But so, I buy quality so that way I don't have to buy it again. Because, honestly, this knife I did throw it away at one point, and so this is technically the second one that I've ever bought. I bought this more to remember the other knife. Because it is a decent little knife. But I bought it to remember the first one. Because I threw away the first one before I really started collecting these. But this isn't exactly high quality. You don't know the steel that's in it. There are people who still think that this is titanium. I don't entirely believe that. I mean, why would they tell you that this is titanium when they don't even tell you what's in the steel? I just don't see this being titanium. If it is, great for them. I really don't see how they're making a titanium frame lock in an $8 knife. I just don't see it. Doesn't matter how thin this thing is, I don't see how they're making an $8 frame lock in titanium. That's just unheard of. But no matter what, just always keep that in mind. You buy quality, you buy once, you buy for life. Even this is not going to last me forever if I hard use this thing all the time. This thing, I could hard use this thing to the day I die. And I could still pass this on to my kids looking like brand new. Even if it doesn't look like brand new, it'll still function like brand new. Sharpen the edge, put a polish on it, you won't be able to tell the difference. If ZT stops selling this thing, and then some random person decides to jump on eBay and say, hey, anybody want a really old ZT knife that still functions like it's brand new? Come and give me $3 for this thing. I'll give it to you. People will probably pay it because it's no longer out there. Now, I'm not exactly saying it'll go for $3 or anything because that's custom money. But people will pay really good money for a good knife, especially if they're a collector and they didn't get to buy it when it was out there. I could easily see a knife like this going for $800 on the secondary markets just because it's not out there anymore. I could easily see that. This is a terrific knife. But if you're caught between wondering if this knife is good enough And if you should trade up and spend a whole lot more money on this, spend $150 more than you did on this, and all you're getting in return is this, you might be a little underwhelmed. I mean, sure, you're going to be initially impressed by the cutting quality, by the fact that you have to put minimal effort into virtually any cut that you do. Your house, for about the first month, is probably going to be littered with paper because you're just going to be doing this all the time. It's because you're so impressed by how much sharper this thing is than this. And especially if you get something like this, you're going to be cutting down small trees with this thing just because you feel a rush of power now. But after a while, you're probably going to be a little bit underwhelmed. You're just like, well, it cuts stuff. What more does it do? Does it buy me dinner? Will it grill me a steak? No, it won't. It just cuts stuff. This thing cuts stuff. This thing cuts stuff very well. Personally, I think this stuff cuts stuff a little better, but they do the same job. They both cut things. They both carry in your pocket. They do the same job. I buy quality so that way I don't have to buy it again. But honestly, if this thing floats your boat, if this thing does what you need it to do, you don't need to buy anything else. I buy these because they work. I buy these because they're easy to use. They work for me. This doesn't exactly do it for me anymore. It did at one point, but it just doesn't anymore. Now I don't think I'll ever go back to these. I'm not ashamed that I bought them in the first place. I had to start somewhere, so this is where I started. I still appreciate all the things that I bought when I was at this stage. But now that I'm at this stage, I don't think I'm ever going back. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm going to continue buying. I mean, sure, there are still going to be knives at this price range, in this quality level, that I'm still going to buy. Why? Because I'm a knife collector, and there's still quality at this level. But the days of buying this are over. I'll never buy a knife like this ever again. My grandparents can feel free to send me knives like this, but I'll never buy them. When I open up the box, whoever's standing next to me will be like, they did it again. They saw just a random knife and they sent it to me. But it's another knife to add to the collection. One day, when I'm long gone and I give my knives to my kids, they'll be able to sell all 50 knives that my grandparents sent me for $5. They may be able to get 10 if they go to some junk metal scrapyard and say, hey, here's a lot of scrap metal. What do you give me for it? And you get 100 pounds of metal in there, $20. Yeah, it's not exactly worth all that much. These are scrap metal. It's basically what they put in the knife to begin with. In fact, this handle actually feels like plastic. But because the way to know it would have to be metal, just coated in a plasticky type paint. Well, at this point I'm actually from the start I was basically rambling. But it's good to ramble every once in a while. Make sure that you get out everything that's on your mind. Yeah, my computer's an absolute mess. I can't even find a trackpad with all the paper on it. Tried to take this video like 4 times. Well, I'm going to cut it off right here at almost 40 minutes, hopefully before it gets to 40. But as always, YouTube, stay safe.